Hello and welcome to Inside Music, episode number 159. I'm your host, James Shotwell, and it's great to be with you again. My guest this week is none other than my pal Ruben Alvarez from the band Upon a Burning Body, who are making their triumphant return to the world of metal on June 7th with their brand new studio album, their fourth studio album, Southern Hostility. And it's their debut release with Seek and Strike Records, which is a pretty new emerging record label in the world of metal and heavy stuff, and it absolutely rocks. And I know that some of you out there may have no idea who Upon a Burning Body is, and that's perfectly fine. And some of you may have opinions about them based on their previous records. But let me tell you right now, right up front, Southern Hostility is something special. And I try to really be selective about who's on the shows these days. We have a lot of offers for people to come on and chat, but I try to keep it to things that I believe in, records I believe in, bands that I think are really doing something interesting or just being their truest self in everything they do. And as much as Upon a Burning Body has a legacy of writing party songs and breakdowns centered around living these crazy lifestyles, Southern Hostility is a surprisingly grounded record. It's about the human condition in a way. It's about the struggle of life. It's about getting over it and getting through it, no matter what that thing may be in your world. And their debut single, King of Diamonds, which is available right now on all streaming services, and there's a video on YouTube, it really personifies this in a really great way. It's the opening track on the record. It's crushingly heavy, and it kind of strips away a lot of the, I guess, cliches that are often associated with the band to show them in their purest form. And it just rips. It's a really good stuff. So today, Ruben is on the show to talk to me about the experience making Southern Hostility, what the band has been up to for the last 3 years since their last album, their last record with Sumerian, straight from the barrio. And we're going to talk about the future a bit. You know, things have been changing in the world of Upon a Burning Body. Like a lot of artists who have been around for over a decade at this point, the boys that started out with big dreams of conquering the world have been all over the world, and now they're grown men, when some of them with families, who see things in a different way. You know, that doesn't mean that they don't still party, they don't still, hit up bars and go crazy with fans and live life to the fullest, but their priorities have shifted, and the way that they look at music and they look at the business as a whole has changed. And I think it's so important that we capture that kind of thing here on the show. At the end of the day, Inside Music aspires to tell the story of the music industry through the eyes of those who are living in it. And for many people, that means reaching the age of 30, or in some cases 40 or even 50, and realizing that the nonstop wild antics that helped propel them into the industry or help them secure a spot in this industry can't last forever. I mean, you can try, but ultimately you implode or you just burn out. If you're going to really make a career in this industry, if you're going to be in this for the long haul, you've got to pivot, you've got to change, you've got to mature, all while maintaining that same passion, that same fire that got you interested in music in the first place. And I think Upon a Burning Body are doing that wonderfully with this new release. So Ruben's going to tell us all about that. We also talk about moving out of the city and into the suburbs, working with 2 producers, and how the band's approaching touring in the coming years. Now, I do want to say that there's a brief moment when Ruben's call cut out entirely, and you're going to hear it. It's about 6 minutes into our conversation, and I'm just going to come back and tell you, hey, that's what happened, and then we'll get back into the conversation. So altogether, there's a little bit over 20 minutes of conversation here, but there's a brief pause in the middle due to a little lapse in our phone connection. That's what happens when somebody moves out into the sticks. That said, I do want to tell you right off the top that you should definitely make it a point to check out Southern Hostility. It comes out June 7th through Seek and Strike Records, and in addition to that, I want to tell you that this episode of Inside Music and all episodes of Inside Music are brought to you by Holics, the music industry's leading promotional distribution platform. Now, what that means is that Holics works with record labels, management, and independent artists from all over the world to share new and unreleased music with tastemakers. To learn how they do that and gain access to a free 30-day trial, you can visit Holics.com. That's Haulix.com. You should also be following Holics on Twitter. That's where you can get updates about this show, as well as guides to working in the music industry, job postings from the industry, and a whole lot more. That's at Haulix, Haulix. And if you like videos, we have a music education series now on YouTube. It's called Music Biz 101. That's Music Biz 101. And you can watch me, host James Shotwell, walk you through the music business. And I would really appreciate it if you checked it out, subscribed. We're having a lot of fun over there. So do all those things. Listen to Southern Hostility. But right now, just sit back, relax, and enjoy my conversation with Ruben Alvarez. So how's things going today? Are you in San Antonio?
Yeah, I live a little bit outside of San Antonio. I moved out to the country, so I live in Canyon Lake, so it's kind of like in between San Antonio and Austin.
All right, that's a pretty big expanse of land between those two places. I've been down there a few times.
Yeah, it's nice, man. I live literally out in the boonies, right off the lake, so it's nice. I get to clear my mind.
How long have you been living out in the middle of nowhere like that? I mean, were you a city person before and you graduated to being past the suburbs, just out there in nowhere land?
Yeah, pretty much, man. I mean, touring so much, it's just being around, the bar scene and so many people all the time. It's just nice to kind of unwind and disconnect and come home to that. And it's really nice. It's probably been about a little over a year now that we lived out at the lake. Yeah.
I mean, if you're going to live out of the city, living by a lake probably isn't that bad of a, compromise.
Oh no, not at all. It's awesome.
I mean, there's a chance. I live in Michigan, and I saw the weather right before you and I got on the phone now, where they said that there was a chance that it was going to freeze tonight, and I was like, it is May like 10th.
Right, this weather. I know. Our drummer is actually from up there. He lives in not I was gonna say Grand Rapids, but it's not. It's Mount Pleasant.
Yeah, Mount
Yeah, he
Pleasant.
lives.
I actually live in Grand Rapids, so that was a good double name drop.
Yeah. So he lives in Mount Pleasant, and he was telling me, yeah, he just came over, and he's like, yeah, it's just been freezing, and then it's hot, and it's just freezing, and it just doesn't make any sense.
Well, I appreciate you having time to talk to me today. I have been looking forward to this for a while. I remember I reached out to George, the guy that works with your band for PR, a while ago, and I was just like, what is going on with Upon a Burning? But I was like, when are they coming back? I think it was like in January, and he was like, well, they went to the studio, started working on stuff, and like, because I think I saw you guys mentioned online that you are going to work on stuff in like November, and I was like, where are we at? When's it coming? And he was like, it's happening.
Yeah,
It'll be here.
it's been a long time, man. It's crazy. It's like this is the longest break we've ever had in our career. So it was nice, but also we're ready to get back to it and show everybody what we've been working on.
Yeah, and well, people will find this out when you start putting out more material and they actually hear the album on June 7th. We'll just start plugging it randomly. On June 7th, when it comes out through Seek and Strike. But this is a little bit of a different album for you guys. I mean, it's still very much, I don't think there's any denying that it's an Upon a Burning Body record. But it does feel, it's different. You guys approached it differently. Can you tell me a little bit about, I guess, where that came from and just give me like the origin story of this record?
Yeah, I mean, really, I think it started, it started from the beginning. We've always seen ourselves as a metal band. Like whenever people ask, like, what kind of band are you? And we just say we're just a metal band. Like we don't like all the subgenres. We don't like although we did start very technical, and we're kind of lumped in with the deathcore scene. But as we started to mature, we that's the thing is we've always been a band that likes to evolve, and we just kept evolving, and we see how we did on Mayhem, and really, that was the thing that opened our eyes. We're like, man, we need to be with this crowd. Like this crowd is, it's the mass metal crowd, and it's the Slayer crowd. It's the bigger audience. And I was like, this is where we belong. And and this we felt like this for years already. And I feel like it's finally come where we were able to create this record, and these songs that are just metal songs, and it's awesome. It still has all the energy we have, and to me, it's just so much more mature and in the right direction than where we should be.
I couldn't agree more, and it still has like I always think of you guys as having just you have a little bit of fun with everything you do. Like even the album title, Southern Hostility, it's just a fun little like, tongue-in-cheek thing that you guys always seem to find a way to just twist things just enough to kind of be like, huh, like that's like it pulls you in like an amusing way.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we've always played around, and that's the thing we like to have. We like to enjoy it. We don't want to be too serious, and we don't want to we don't want to be a joke either. So we just kind of ride the line between the two and have fun with it. And I think that's what people get from us. And when they come to shows, they just let loose, and it's always a good time. And that's the thing is, I feel like we finally bridged the gap between our album and the live show, which is, I always feel like people come to see us and they're like, oh, I get it now. Like, as our fucking live band, like the energy here is amazing. I was like, yeah, now we put it into this record, and I feel like it kind of translates better than all the rest of our albums.
Absolutely. And tell me a little bit about going into the production for this record, because you guys have two producers. You have Christopher and Mora, who some people may recognize from the world, and then you also worked with your younger brother, right, Thomas?
Yes, me and Danny share a younger brother, Thomas. Basically, my father and Danny's mother, got together and they made our little brother. And he is an amazing musician. And he has a kind of, me and Danny are older. We're in our 30s, and we're kind of like out of the loop, when it comes to music, because we're always just writing and just on tour. So, and he has a really good ear for what's out and what's fresh, and and he's a vocalist as well. So he was like, let me come in and help you guys, because we're at the beginning of this, we're just kind of like, man, where do we go? We've already written 4 albums, and it's like, where can we take this and make it better? And he came in and just really helped us, solidify some ideas. And same thing with Mora. He's young, and he's a fresh producer, and he just has great ideas. And I think that's what we really needed. Whereas if you go with the older cats that already kind of are already have their style, you already know what you're going to get. But with them, it was much more open and communicative, and it was just easy to come out with ideas. And we had so much music, and it was a good time. We're friends with them. So I mean, obviously with my brother, but with Mora, like,
Hey guys, James here. I told you that there was a brief interruption to the recording with Ruben, and this is it. So we're going to dive right back into the show with the second half of our conversation in just a few seconds, but I just wanted to say thank you again for listening. Here's my conversation with Ruben. Enjoy. Hey, there we go. I don't know what happened.
All right. Awesome.
But as you were
Sorry
saying,
about that. Yeah, I try to live out here in the sticks, so it's what do you call it? Service isn't the best.
no, it's fine. I mean, again, you want to get away, that's the place to be.
Yeah, so like I was saying, like, we've known Mora for years, and it was so easy to create this album. It came out, and we had a lot of time. That's the thing too. He lived in San Antonio, so we were able just to go there and then go home, and that's a lot. Like, being able to do that is amazing. Not having to go and stay in the studio and who knows where, and just being able to come home every night is awesome.
I've been hearing that from a lot of bands recently, like that, especially bands that are a few albums in, that they say that if you can find a way to make your record and sleep in your own bed at night, like that's the way to do it.
Yeah, definitely.
How does that change the experience for you? Are you just feel more comfortable that way?
Yeah, and I guess not having to worry. I mean, I guess it's a sense of familiarity too. It's like you're at home, and you're able to and for me and Danny, we have families, so it's good to go home and just kind of unwind and spend time with the family. We don't have to go out and be gone for another month out of the year, to record an album, and that's great.
You really can't put a price on that, right?
No, definitely not. It's really. I mean, when we first started, we're gone like 9, 10 months out of the year, and we've found a way to make it work where we don't have to be gone as much, and kind of find a balance between the two, the home life and touring, because that's important to us. Being able to be home for those moments and spend time with the family, or else it's not worth it. You're gone all the time, and it's like, what are you doing? What are you working for?
Absolutely. Now, this album is coming out. You guys, for a while, they were doing about an album every like 18 months almost. It seems like every 2 years there's a new album. This one, you're almost creeping up on like 2.5 years, getting close to 3 for between Straight from the Barrio to this album. Was family the main reason that this one kind of took a little longer to come together? Like what? I guess it was something changing internally that maybe people in the public eye don't know about. Because I know that there have been fans that have been like, "What happened? Where'd they go?" For a minute. So.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, we announced a new label, and I think that's really what it was, is just coming up with a game plan and taking our time, so that this first release was going to be, great, with a new label and a new vision, and basically trying to reinvent ourselves, and making a new name for us, and rebranding, and just kind of reinventing ourselves. That was really what it was all about, and we just wanted to take our time. So the record took about 2 months to a month of writing, and then a month of recording, and then just coming up with when we're going to release everything, and setting the dates for the release, and make music videos and all that stuff. So it was just a long process of planning, and and we just really didn't want to rush. And that was the main thing. Is with every other record, you're on a time crunch, and you're kind of like, okay, it's that time. We got to put it out. We got to put it out. And so with this one, it was just there's no rush. This is our first release with Seek and Strike, and we can just kind of take our time, and it has to be right. And that was the main thing. The main importance is just trying to make sure it's right, and it's a banging record.
Now, how did you guys come to be with Seek and Strike? I mean, they're a relatively new label in the world, and you guys were coming off this long run with Sumerian. So, like, who did they reach out to you first? Like, how did this coupling come together?
Yeah, well, we're once our contract was up, we reached out to our lawyer, and we're like, we should start looking at other options, and he has a lot of connections, and we kind of just put it out there, put some feelers out, and yeah, actually Randy called me, and he told me about that him and George, who basically do publishing for, like, I don't know, you name a band, and they've probably done publishing for them and worked with close with a ton of labels. They came up with and told me that they're starting the label, and then I was like, oh wow, this is interesting. And they basically told us, like, we want you guys to be our first release. And to me, that was amazing. I was just like, that's great, because I feel like this point in our career, this is what we need. We need, the attention, and we need that, that drive. And to me, that was just the selling point. It's just, having that team that is gung ho, and they're like, okay, this is going to be their first release, so they're going to give it their all, and make sure that it's great. And I guess that where we came from, that's kind of how we're feeling. It's just kind of we're kind of stuck in the middle. Like, Sumerian had so many bands, and we weren't the biggest band, but we weren't the smallest band.
Absolutely. I understand what you're saying. And this time you kind of get to set the tone because, I mean, you guys fit in with that label, absolutely, but you definitely kind of weren't a band on that label that was, like, I guess the initial sound that people always thought, like, that's what Sumerian artists sound like. You guys kind of were an outlier. With Seek and Strike, you kind of get to be like, this is, you kind of help introduce, like, what people should expect from this label. Like, this is just like this
Yeah.
heaviness, this aggressiveness. And I guess that works perfectly for this kind of rebranding that you guys are doing, like, sonically. This is a different kind of Upon a Burning Body record. It's not what we've heard before necessarily, but still heavy.
Yeah, yeah, and it's great. It's all like coming together so nicely, and all the puzzle pieces are just starting to fall into place, and it's just it's great. The response already has been amazing for our first track and the music video, and everybody's loving it. And I don't think we've had that kind of response for any release in the last for the last couple of records. So it's great.
Well, I was curious because I got to hear the record a few days before you guys dropped King of Diamonds, and I didn't know when I heard it the first time that you were going to pick that as the single. And obviously, it stands out. It's the first, like, proper song on the record, so it hits pretty hard. But I think historically speaking, I think when people think of what an Upon a Burning Body debut single is going to be, it's always been like the big party song on the record. And if anything, King of Diamonds kind of reinforces that, like, this isn't just another, like, we're going to have a bunch of songs about partying or drinking or, like, that. It's still heavy, but it's a really good way to introduce all the things that are different about this album, I feel.
Yeah, exactly. And us too, like, I have so many songs that I love off this record. I mean, it was just so hard to pick a single. And when they picked that one, I was like, that's awesome. It stands out on the record, and it's great. But I mean, just like any of our other records, it's the record is full of just all types of different songs, and I love that. I love that you can listen to it and not get bored, because there's different songs for everybody. If you're an emotional kind of a person that's driven by emotional songs, and there's those songs, and there's the hype songs, there's the heavy ones, and it just has everything. To me.
Is there one track on the album that's, like, your current favorite? I know that you've heard it more than anybody else. So, like, currently, what's the one that you're just like, damn, we really knocked it out the park that time?
Oh man, there's so many. I really like Reinventing Hatred is one of my favorite, and it's probably, I would say, one of the heaviest songs on the record. But to me, there's something about it. I think it's a structure as well. It's just not like it's different, and it catches you off guard kind of, and it's really really heavy. So to me, that's the one that grabs me right now. But I mean, I love all of them, man. It's hard. It's really hard to choose. Honestly, it's just there's too many good songs on this album. And I don't think we felt that strong about, the last two albums. It was always those kind of songs that were just like, okay, it's an okay song, but I think it's a filler. It's not all. And with this record, I don't feel like there's any filler. I think it's all great and just amazing.
Now, I actually really love Reinventing Hatred as well. For you as a guitar player, is that a song that starts with you and a riff, or did that come from somewhere else? Like, tell me the origin of that song, because you have some great riffs on this record, and I'm curious if that's always the foundation of your songs, or is it Danny bringing a lyrical idea to the table? Like, especially that song in particular, like, where did it start?
It's cool because I guess approaching this record, that's one thing that I've been really getting into is songwriting and like dissecting and just trying to come up with ideas. And this one, actually, my brother came up with this idea. He had heard this guy doing a beat, and it's basically the Fibonacci sequence, where it's like, it's a 3, 6, 9. I mean, it doubles every time, and that's what the beat is based off of, and that's how it started. And the way the guy explains it on this video, it's like a YouTube video that my brother found, and he's like, we should try to with this, and we just took it and we just ran with it, and we wrote this killer riff and this breakdown, and it's just like, it was amazing. I was just like, holy shit, this is cool. This is really different. And I think that's how it all started. It was just a rhythmic thing, and it's a YouTube video basically. And we find influences from the weirdest place. It could be a pop song, it could be something that a country song even. It just depends. We hear one thing that stands out, and we're just like, let's try to make this metal and to see how it works out.
I also wanted to talk about, if we can talk about one other song on the record, I do want to talk about the closing tracks. Is it Soul Searcher? That's the closing track for the
Yeah.
record. Is there, now I'm always curious about when bands write records and the whole idea of sequencing and where stuff goes. Is how did you know that that's how you want to close the album? Because I feel like obviously Southern Hostility opens the album. It's an opening track. It's meant to kind of pull you in, but choosing how you end the record is, I feel, equally important. So what makes Soul Searcher like where you want to leave people?
I think it's just because it felt like a closure by the emotionality and just like the way it feels. I don't even know if that's a word, but the emotion in it is and how it felt to us. And I think the chant at the end and just kind of the whole vibe of the song. And I think with our past records, we kind of had that trend. Like the first two definitely had the emotional ending song that kind of like it's just kind of like a roller coaster ride. You have this huge burst of energy and you kind of ride the ride, and then at the end you kind of just let them down nice and easy, and it's a nice way to end and just kind of summarizing the whole record. And I think also the message in the song is great, and it's cool because it kind of ties into King of Diamonds and how like life is like, it's like going through a war and you have to pick your battles, and it's really cool, and how you're not alone, and it's awesome.
Well, it is a strong song. I can't wait for people to hear it. When are we going to see Upon a Burning Body back on the road?
We're we're working on something right now. Actually, we're trying to get together a couple of tours lined up, and it definitely be this year. Definitely gonna do a couple of tours this year to help promote the record, and I'm excited to see how people react to these songs and this music, and see if the hype online will transfer over to a live show.
Well, I feel like we're in the midst of a little bit of like a heavy music resurgence. I mean, the genre itself has obviously never gone away, but I feel like there's like a renewed interest in it to some degree, and I'm not exactly sure why that is. I feel like it's a combination of like, culturally speaking, people are just angrier and have a little bit more like they need something to get out all the stuff inside of them, and heavy music has always been like a good vehicle for that. And I think right now with everything going on in the world, heavy music really brings that in, and you guys have put out an album, or about to put out an album, that kind of plays into that idea a little bit. There is, I mean, a song like All Pain No Gain is pretty straightforward in that sense, but it speaks to like this need for release and self-development and things like that, which I feel like is so perfectly timed with the world right now.
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot of stress going on, and just a lot of just debates, and I think what helps too is obviously social media just fuels that fire, and it's helping us as artists, because we're there to kind of be that release for all these people. And it's crazy because at our shows we get people from all walks. It's just there's teachers and doctors, and it's just people you wouldn't even expect listen to metal, and I'm just like, wow, this is really cool. You know, we had a kindergarten teacher come up, and she's like, I gotta find a shirt that doesn't have any profanity, because well, I was like, I'm sure if you wear any shirt that says "Upon a Burning Body," the parents might look at you a little funny as a kindergarten teacher. But you know, it's awesome to see that, you know, that release of energy from all these people. And yeah, I think it's definitely on the rise again. It's weird how it works, you know, the waves of just you know, how it comes and goes. And yeah, I definitely felt like there was a low point, you know, in heavy music, and I was like, whoa, what's going on? Like, I think it was that whole, like, you know, trap scene that just came out, and it was just, it kind of took over. Like, I went to shows, and I was just like, these are all scene kids at this trap show. This is so weird. Like, I don't know, I don't understand it. They're moshing. It's just, this is, you know, this is crazy. So, but I don't know. I guess with anything, it's kind of fading out, and metal is making a comeback, and, you know, Slipknot is doing their big tour, and it's just, you know, I feel like there's a lot of bigger bands that are coming back, and just, oh, As They Die and came back. You know, there's so many bands that are just doing it and killing it, and you know, we just want to be part of that, and, you know, bringing back metal and keeping it alive.
Well, I certainly think you're going to play a role in that. Before I let you go, I do want to ask, you know, we're about to celebrate, next year we'll celebrate 15 years of Upon a Burning Body being a band. Did you, in 2005, could you ever have imagined you would get here? Like, you'd still be talking about Upon a Burning Body and putting out new music 15 years later?
Damn, I didn't even realize it's been that long. It's crazy. No, I mean, it's definitely been a roller coaster ride, you know, and I'm glad we made it this far, and we've, you know, I feel like after all that, like, this record is definitely our best, and, you know, I don't know, I can't even comprehend that it's been that long. That's freaking nuts. But it's awesome. That's great, and, you know, I don't think we have any intention of stopping. You know, I think as long as, you know, there's people there at the shows, and we can keep going, and, you know, support our families, we'll stay out, and we'll keep creating music.
Is there any chance you guys ever put the Genocide EP on streaming services?
Holy shit. I don't know, man. I mean, that might be a good idea, you know, just for fun, just for kicks, because that's what started it all, you know. That's what
Yeah.
really, you know, got us signed in the first place, was that first little EP. And, you know, we're opening up for bigger bands, and just, you know, doing it. That's freaking nuts.
Yeah.
Might be a good idea.
I mean,
Revisit.
we missed the 10-year anniversary of the reissue, but I feel like at this point, you know, with streaming, quantity can help more than anything. So I mean, putting out, you know, those extra songs at some point could just be like a cool little bump and give people something to consume. I know I heard it back in the day before you guys, you know, got into the world of labels, because it was something that was just being passed around like heavy circles. People were like, "Have you heard this band? They're gonna crush." But it's one of those. I feel like we're in this age of streaming now, where it's kind of okay to maybe put that stuff back out into the world. And I especially the reissue of Genocide was so good. Like, why not get it out there so we can enjoy it again?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think people would enjoy to listen to what, you know, we sounded like when we first started the band, which is totally different from now, you know. But it's cool. I feel like the one thing we've kept is, you know, the integrity of that heavy and that energy, and just, you know, keeping that vibe going. And I think that's all I want out of this band, is just to keep that energy going, and just like have people come to our shows so they can just get wild and just have fun, and, you know, just let loose.
Absolutely, man. Well, I thank you for taking the time to talk to me, and I'm looking forward to seeing how people react to Southern Hostility when it arrives June 7th through Seek and Strike. Hopefully, you guys will roll out some tour dates in between there, and who knows? It seems like you're going to have a big year, because I think people are really going to dig this record, and really get to see you guys in a new light. So thank you again for taking the time to talk to me today.
Like, yeah, man, I appreciate it.
Yeah, have a great day, man.
Thank you too.